Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is my wonderful spouse River Park, and welcome to our brand new channel, Life with the Parks. And before we get started on our channel, I wanted to say that I identify as bisexual or pansexual.
And I identify as transgender male.
And we have been married for 3 years, together 4. And it has been an awesome ride with lots of challenges, which you will probably learn more about as our channel progresses. But what are we doing today, babe?
We are talking about the very first day we saw each other and met.
Which is a very interesting story. But first, let's talk about what we were doing the day we met before we met each other. So I was doing a voiceover job. One of my jobs is I'm a professional voice actress, and I was recording lines for about 3.5 hours for an indie video game. And then that night, I was supposed to go to this coffee house that we both frequent called Otherlands. It's kind of a hippie, college area, like pretty eccentric coffee house that did like live reads of poetry, and it'd have live bands. And we had a mutual friend who I knew from high school and River knew from a drum circle that I think you were going to, that was performing in a band that night. And I was asked to do a music video for their band because my undergrad is in film production. So I was going to shoot a video for their band, and that's why I was going there. And why were you going?
So before I made it to the coffee shop that evening, I was working at the Memphis Zoo I forget what the job title was, but it was basically like the food stands and hustle and drinks, to stock various functions. I was one of the leads there, so I got to drive the little clubhouse car, and helps when you know someone. It was a great experience, but very exhausting. And I think I'd been there I think it was just like my first month or so by that time, or maybe even less. So yeah, I was pretty busy, and I almost didn't make it. Was this decision point of like, am I gonna muster the energy to go and support my my then friend who had a band? And it was the last performance that one of the co-band members was gonna be a part of. So I really wanted to see her perform because she was doing the drums, and I'm really into drums. So and she had all these cool instruments, like even a jug. So I really wanted to see her one last time because France is really hard
To get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought,
Now with COVID now, though, we realize that everyone's like pretty much in France, and we just live on, social media and Zoom and hang out in all these other places. But yeah, I forgot that she was leaving.
So that's what I was doing before I got there, and I finally decided I'll go and I'll relax and I'll draw and, hang out and chill and maybe have a drink.
So I get there to set up the camera. It was me and another person that I went to film school with. Ironically, I had this person come as my second camera. So I would focus on the main stage, and he would do B-roll, and then we like kind of switch out depending on the perspective of the room. And there was a pretty good crowd. So I remember that night I was already feeling weird because when I got there was this guy in this Hawaiian shirt who literally kept walking up to me and saying, end quote, "Do you come here all the time? What do you think about this place? What can you tell me about this place? Do you have a few minutes?" And I'm like, I'm kind of working right now. I need to focus on the stage. So I would move, and then he would move to another location, and he would be like, so do you like the coffee here? Do you like to? I'm like, come on, guy, get a clue. but I'm one of those people that unless you put your hands on me, then all bets are off. I'm very polite. I am half British. I was raised that way. But yeah, he was really, I was running a lot from him that night. Very touchy-feely too. It was really weird. But I remember I was sitting up the camera, and so like there were tables right in front of me that I really needed to be in to have a very good, view of the stage. So when I took, video of it, I wouldn't be cropping a lot of the band out. I didn't want to be centered, but I wanted to have enough room where I can get everything wide focused. And I had a wide angle lens, but it's a DSLR, anything could happen. I just wanted to have the option of having very good shots. So I asked this older gentleman, if I could sit in his, in his little chair area, seat area. And he's like, yeah. But then he literally invites 5 people over to sit with him when it was time for me to start filming. And I'm like, okay, well, that's crap. Right before that, though, I was completely distracted by this clad in black person who had a very pissed off look on their face, come walking in, paid the cover charge, came right over, looked around, and then plopped down. I think you actually were at another table originally, just plopped down, and I was like, there are good looking people here tonight. Because, actually, you were the only good looking one I saw the entire night. But I was working, so part of me was like, I really want to talk to this person, but then I'm like, And the backstory, I had been widowed 2 years before. My previous spouse died from cancer, so I wasn't even looking for a relationship. So I was literally distracting myself with all of this work and, just trying to get your life back on track, because I was a caretaker for so long that I didn't have time for me. So it was weird having time for yourself when you've been a caretaker for so long. And with my spouse, I was a caretaker for 36 months. And then prior to that, my mother, who passed from leukemia, I was her caretaker. So it had been a long road. So I was out of the dating world. I was like, I don't know what to do. This person is hot, but I'm not going to worry about it. But then I kept finding myself looking over at the table where River was. And I was like, So when the gentleman basically invited all the people to sit at his table, I noticed that River had moved up and was sitting now at a table that was adjacent his, which was also a very good perspective of the stage. And I thought, maybe I can go over there and I can maybe say hi and then get some shots too, because I didn't need the audio, so I can maybe strike up a conversation. So I get over to the table and I'm like, do you mind if I sit with you? And Rivers literally is like this the entire time and says, absolutely no problem. What? Would not make eye contact with me at all. Would not look at me. No eye contact. Your eyes were not coming up at all.
Yeah, and there's a thing called nerves. So to backtrack, Friday at the zoo was fairly busy. It's not like Saturdays are, during normal non-COVID times, but it was pretty crazy. So there's all kinds of folks that come through. Some are really, really kind, some are just in a hurry, and you have to deal with that as a customer experience person. To make a long story shorter, I was really just tired and exhausted and just over people because I'm more introverted, and so having a lot of stimulation socially is very exhausting for me. And it was a long shift, so I was very, very tired, and I just barely made it home to shower and then make it to the coffee shop. The person that we're mutually friends with had a drum circle, and a bunch of friends would usually go to all of her shows together, and so I thought for sure I'd see at least one person there from that circle of friends, but I didn't, and so then that made me even more pissed. I was just trigger happy at that point, because it was just oh, what? You're not gonna even come and support the last show with, that person who was leaving for France? And it was I was just everything just piling up on top, so that's probably what led to the face that I was making.
Yeah. You look really bad.
Yeah, I was really mad at that point.
What is happening?
So for my side of where I was relationship status wise, I had just gotten out of a really bad relationship, train wreck. It just got worse and worse and worse until it was done, and I was just I can't even think about that anymore. for a while. I'm gonna focus on me. I'm gonna, I was really getting into my drawing. I was really like pouring all of the energy into my pursuits and just not even looking at other people. So I did, though, like when I was getting my drink, despite all that, I did, out of the corner of my eye, see that there was like these people standing, and then I particularly noticed this one woman who she was just so in charge and so like, I thought she came straight from Los Angeles. Like, I was just like, who is that person? How are they here? Like, I know, like, wow, somebody must have had a connection to get somebody like that cool to come and film for them, because they had all their gear and everything too set up around the room. And so I was just like, whoa, I did not expect that. And so then I was like, okay, I'm just still gonna go over to my little table and just, just focus on me and my drawing, and like, just like, maybe I'll draw them just to focus on something. So yeah, that's where my headspace was at when everything started that evening. And by the time you made it to the second table I ended up at, because like I kept moving around, I think, because like the first table I was at, I guess it was just like part antsiness. I came there to like have like me time and focus on my drawing and stuff. So it was like being around people who were gonna be talking and like probing and everything. I was just like, no, I'm sorry. Like, I need to have my space and just draw and be happy and not worry about your stuff. So I went over, to a different table, and I think somebody else sat down there. I don't know, or the view wasn't good probably for what I was drawing.
You had a really good table, the last table
So then, a table just opened up right in front. I still remember, it's like stage right, I think is the technical term, right in front. And like, right in front of like the drummer's space. And then our mutual friend was to the left of her. And it was just perfect. It was just like, I could draw that. I could dig that. And so then I was like, yeah, I nabbed that. I was just like, I don't know how, but it was just like, I'm taking it. That's mine. Nobody else is going to get that spot. And then I was just like, really happy. And then when Maria walked over, I remember like noticing that, like even before she got near, I was like, oh, somebody's approaching. Shit. Like, oh my God. And I was just like, just keep drawing. I don't know what I'm drawing anymore, but I'll just keep drawing. And I'm just gonna focus. I'm not supposed to be paying attention to others. I'm not supposed to be, thinking about anything. I'm gonna be drawing tonight. And so that's what led to the
not locking eyes with me at all.
The lack of eye contact.
So then it got more interesting, because as the band played their last song, since of course the drummer from France was leaving. I don't want to say her name, but she was leaving. So that everyone formed like a circle, and they were told to hold hands. And I remember you reached for my hand, remember? And I'm like, oh, I'm filming. But then you looked at me and you smiled. And so I was thinking, ha, opportunity. But when I got back, you were like leaving out of the side door, and I was like, shit. So I remember asking our, at the time, mutual friend who you were. And she told me your name. And then I said, are you into girls or guys? And she said, oh, girls. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I'm a girl. So, but then came what I like to call our
dramatic 3.5 weeks of torture on Maria.
So let me preface this as, since I was doing the music video, I thought, since River was a good artist, since I actually caught some of the sketches of the band, I would ask River to do like animation for the video, so that I would have our band play, and then I have like the band have a still shot of the band, and then it be animated. So that our sketch, should I say, and then I would just put it in post and I'd animate it, or I'd do whatever.
Like Aha's Take On Me.
Kind of, yeah. And I thought River would be perfect for that. So River was game for that. I got River's contact information for that. But River was playing hard to get. So let me give you some examples. So I think I added you on Facebook. That was the first thing I did. River, the very first conversation we had lasted 4.5 minutes or 5 minutes, and you were saying something along the lines of, I work 2 jobs, I'm very tired, so I won't be very responsive in there. This was after I was like, hi, my name's Maria, nice to meet you, I want to get to know you so we can talk about the art stuff. I was like, oh, okay, so this person is telling me they don't have time to talk to me. You know? So I was like, And then I had your number, so I sent you a text message. It had to be like a few days after that, saying, hey, you know, what's your schedule like? And you're like, my schedule is always busy. I only have a window between this time and this time. I mean, it was the classic blow you off, don't effing talk to me type situation. To the point where even River said to me, I can't actually text you right now because I'm at work and I don't want to get into trouble. So, you know, basically, can you kind of stop texting me? Didn't say stop texting, but the implication was there. I was getting very frustrated. I think I even said something along the lines of, in Facebook, I was, you know, I really wanted to make new friends and I thought you'd be a really nice friend. And you were like, not responsive to that whatsoever. You said things like, well, I don't really go out a lot or have time to hang out. I'm like, if this was a dating app, you're already swiped the opposite way. You were not giving me the time of day. It got so frustrating for me because I actually started going to the drum circle because number one, I knew River would be there. And number two, my daughter needed a hobby. So I was like, you know what? It's free. Our mutual friend was teaching the class. She was interested in drums, or at least she was interested in finding a hobby. So I'm like, give it a shot. So I came up there. River was there a couple of times. The first time you kind of smiled at me, but then didn't say anything. The second time you talked to everybody else in the circle, but did not talk to me at all. And when I asked people to be volunteers, or like I needed extras for a portion of the video shoot where we were shooting by the river. And so everybody was signing up, and River writes an email address, very professional, creative, artsy type email address, in the caption, for work inquiries only. And I'm like, and then for me, that was it. I said, you know what? I put myself out there. I tried to be your friend. I hope that we would like eventually maybe be something else, but I am done. I have never had to chase a date in my life, and I'm not starting now. So I sent out a mass text to everybody. I assigned you to the gentleman, another person that was working on the video with me. I said, River, you will have all your contacts through this person. I will deal with the extras and all the other creative talent, you know, at this email. And here's River. Well, I work this hour, but I could see if I could make it work. And I'm like, and I remember saying, this really wasn't for you. I was talking to this talent. I said, you'll be dealing with So that night, I get a 2-paragraph freaking Facebook post or message saying, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I've been really busy. I've been meaning to apply. I'd love to be friends with you, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was like 1-effing 80. I was like, what? So yeah, I never let River forget this, ever. I bring this up all the time. And even to this date, River says it was nerves and fear, maybe even of getting into another relationship, and I get it. River's previous girlfriend was a nightmare, but but still, that was effed up, man. I said effed up.
Yeah, so, yeah, there was a thing called nerves. There was a thing called, you know, just trying to focus on my goals and things and try to not be distracted and try to just stay on the path, because I felt like not ready personally to be, you know, that who you have to be in relationship. Just like it was the grind, and so I was in this mindset of like just, and I was a team lead, so I was used to like handling messages, you know, very quickly by text and things with my manager.
And you had an old phone too.
And I had an old phone.
I will give River that. It's a 9 key. I was like, why do you not have a smartphone?
I did not have a smartphone because I was too much into gaming, and I needed to cut that habit so I could focus on myself, and so I did myself the favor of removing the temptation. Yeah, it was just like I was in that headspace of like, gotta get your work done, you know, and getting things done, GTD, and I, you know, so also there was policy at work, which is always when I tended to get these messages. It was either at like my job at the zoo or at home when I was falling down dead. Nice.
Well, in my defense, when you work 2 jobs, I had 2 jobs. So like I would just do it when I had time. And I just figured you'd look at it when you had time. I didn't think you were gonna look at it like right then and be like, "Oh, you're texting me, stop."
Well, like so we have had this policy, which is common at workplaces, to not text while you're at your station, and only on your breaks and whatnot. And if you were caught texting, that could be like warnings against you, you know, for termination possibly, depending on, you know, how severe your other actions have been. So I was like pretty scared about, you know, losing the job. Like I didn't want that on my record. It wasn't the fact of like anything else, but I just didn't want to have to say I was fired from the job. Yeah, and I just before I went again into, you know, the professional environment and was serious again, I just wanted to
like you're in now with high stress.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I was, and then like, but it was just like, this is ridiculous. When am I gonna respond to these things if I don't do it when I'm awake? Because you're very, very awake when you're running around town.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like chugging drinks that help you stay awake while you're running around town, or on breaks or whatever. And like, you know, the adrenaline kicks in, the endorphins, all of that. So like, that's the best time to be responsive, not when you're falling down dead. But how do you do that and set a good example for the people who are, you know, you're responsible for because you're a team lead? And, you know, it's just this whole like ethical moral dilemma that I was facing. But it was just like, all right, I gotta do it. And then it ended up being this long thing. It's like, well,
it was 3 paragraphs. There was a mini novel in my messenger. Like, I was so shocked. I actually text the other person working on the video, and I'm like, I don't know what to think of this. I have been trying to talk to this person for 3.5 weeks. They blew me off, and now all of a sudden, I'm getting like, yes, I want to be friends. Not only do you want to be friends, you wanted to hang out. I mean, it was like, what?
Yeah, it wasn't a function of like interest, which, all right, so I will take accountability and say, like, I have had this major problem with just not being responsive in social, like, messaging, you know, like with professional, I mean, of course, you don't get very far if you're not responsive, but like in social messaging, I just tend to not be, especially if I'm really stressed out or tired or anything else. Like if I'm physically not up to it, then I'm just my brain, every part of my brain checks out, and just like I can't.
So River just
send
basically
that.
checked out on me.
Yeah.
I will never let you forget that. But it's okay, because if our next video, if it's, I don't know if we're gonna do our first date, first kiss, first whatever videos. As I see a lot of YouTube couples, especially LGBT couples that do videos like that. Which if that's what somebody wants, then we can do that. But I have another story that plays very well off of this one that I will save, because it was completely 180 from the time. I mean, to the point where I had some questions. That would be a video for another time. But if you have any questions so far about us, and we are pretty new, so you probably do, leave us a comment below and let us know. And don't forget to subscribe and make sure you like and press that freaking notification bell so you know when we post videos. But we want to thank you for checking out our new video.
And thank you for spending a day in the life of the parks.
Bye-bye.